everybody? We are back again with another super special guest. Today, we are joined by a professional kickboxer. He's a world champion, just recently won a world title over in Scotland about a month ago. He's also a super crafty, interesting, unique individual. Check out his latest documentary on YouTube. It's called Seppuku. Ladies and gentlemen, Jake Kelly.
Super excited to have you on. So just thanks so much for being with us today.
Absolutely, brother. It's been a long time coming.
You hit me up yesterday, actually. We've had this plan for a little bit, but you hit me up, told me you had some big news, but I want to wait and do that a little bit later. You got back that was about a month ago now. So I just want to recap that trip to Scotland. Just first of all, like the culture and everything like that. I've been outside the country, but never been to Europe. So what was that experience like for you?
Scotland was one of those places that was definitely not on my bucket list to go to. But after going there, it's going to be tough to go anywhere else in the world that's going to top that. It
Mm,
was such a mix of modern, modern world and old world.
mm,
Like you're walking down Glasgow, which is one of the biggest cities, and I guess the easiest comparison to the States is like New York.
mm.
So, they have new buildings, new high rises, new skyscrapers, things like that. But then right next to it, there's a building that's 700 years old that's etched out of stone and has these very intricate gargoyles on top. And it was the coolest place I've ever been. It
Yeah,
was super sweet. The people
yeah.
were really nice. Just everything was so green. To be honest, the thing that kind of caught me off guard the most and kind of caught my attention first was just how clean everything was. Like
Mm.
the air felt clean, the streets were clean. It was just it was like a storybook place.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It looked amazing in your vlogs and everything like that. But again, we'll get to that in a little bit. You went in there, and I know there's a couple rule sets and stuff like that. You entered into the K1 bracket of things and Glory. Could you just first of all, for people that don't know, break down those different like what is the difference between those rule sets?
So they're super similar. I guess the main difference would just be in Glory, you can clinch and there's 5 seconds in the clinch. And in K1, there's no clinching at all. So
Mm,
that's probably the main difference. I mean, yeah, in Glory, I know you can, like, if someone kicks you in the body, you could catch it and throw a technique. And yeah, but that's probably the main difference is the clinch. But I
yep.
like K1 just because it's way more action. Because
Hmm.
there's not the clinch, if people are good at it, they can kind of use it to their advantage. Like come in real close, you get 5 seconds. So they could
Hmm.
take their 3 or 4 seconds, let go, 1 2 1 2, and then boom, grab you again. And it can almost look like a Muay Thai fight, but it's not Muay Thai. So K1 is just like nonstop kickboxing, forward pressure, action.
Yeah, and K1 was ultimately the one that you won, correct?
Yes, yeah,
Okay. So you had that fight with the New Zealander that happened to not go your way.
yeah. I mean, I understand there's like a recency bias, but that fight, even though I didn't come out victorious, that's my favorite fight I've ever had.
Mm,
It was
mm,
so just how the brackets and stuff were there. I mean, first off, they told certain teams kind of different weights. I'm not saying that was purposeful, but I know like guys on the US team, whatever it was, and let's say they fight at 150, whatever that is in kilograms, they told them kilograms was like 144. So people
mm,
were cutting more, cutting less, and things like that. So in my first fight, I fought in the weight class that was right above mine.
mhm.
Whether that was 190 or 95 or whatever. Like I said, I'm not sure what the kilogram conversion is. But
Right.
yeah, so I fought a New Zealand guy. He was like 2 or 3 inches taller than me, arms 2 3 inches longer, everything. He was like me, but just slightly bit bigger.
Mhm.
And it's also funny because we fought like the exact same, just real heavy straight punches, good knees, good low kicks, and just crazy forward pressure. And yeah, it was a good scrap. I mean, the first round was pretty close. Second round, I'd still say was close, but man, right at the end of the second round, he was coming forward. I felt my back hit the ropes, and I saw him going to throw a head kick, so I went to lean out the way, and luckily I leaned out the way, but his big toe came and boom, it hit me like literally right in the corner of my eye, right
Mhm.
like where your nose and your eye meet, And right when that landed, like I instantly started feeling it swell up. By the end of the day, it was all black and blue. The blood vessels in my eye were all popped. And I knew that happened at the end of the second, and then going into the third round. And the beginning of that third round, I was just telling myself in my head, like, you have to scrap right now. Either
Mm,
you have to knock this guy out, or if he wants this to be an easy fight or he wants you to quit, he's going to have to finish you. So I just had to just come forward, keep applying pressure, trying to just play my game. And like I said, it didn't go my way in the judges' scorecards, but I learned more in that fight than I have in any other fight. And I
mm.
get much more enjoyment talking about that fight and the experience that I had compared to any other fight that I've had.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I mean, looking back on it, do you feel like, because I watched it also, do you feel like do you feel like you won it? Because, I mean, of course, I'm watching it, I'm rooting for you. So I don't know if that plays a part in like my judging. I'm sure it does. I thought you kind of won the first two. Maybe he won the third. Do you feel like you won it, or was it kind of one of those just too tough to call?
When I was in the moment, I thought I lost all 3 rounds.
Oh, wow.
I mean, granted, I am kind of used to winning all my fights. I was undefeated going in there. I was 7-0 at the time, and my opponent, his name's Hayden Crawford from New Zealand.
Mm,
Savage, man. He's a good dude. We got to hang out a lot after the tournament as well, and we still keep in touch. But
mm,
he was 10-0 going into that fight. So it was probably the best kickboxer in New Zealand and the best kickboxer in America, and we were going at each other.
yeah.
But when I got to watch it back, and then I got to watch it with my brother and some of my other teammates, I would say the first round I won. It was close, but I would just say the more significant shots and maybe the exchanges, I came out a little bit more on top.
Mm,
But as the fight progressed, he just picked up the pace and just had that pressure. And I mean, I'm not trying to go against the decision or anything. I would definitely say he won 2 rounds to one.
sure. Yeah. No, absolutely. That's fair to say. And, they easier said than done. They say don't leave it in the hands of the judges, but what are you going to do? You got two dogs in there. I mean,
Yeah,
but yeah, and then just afterwards, like, what are your thoughts? You're reflecting. Just how are you feeling? Taking that first loss.
it was tough, man. I mean, I didn't fly all the way out to Scotland and spend all those hours in the gym training to lose. And so I went out there and I was upset at first. I said sorry to my brother and I said sorry to Brian Crenshaw, the president of WKA, and I just had to go on a little walk outside and kind of clear my head. And once I got centered, I was able to just watch it back, and there was just a lot to take away and a lot that I know. It was just very small things that I did not do that, in my opinion, is what lost me the fight. Like there
Mm,
were some points I was a little too flat-footed. I wasn't diversifying my attacks enough, which
mm,
is I went back to the gym. I got home on a Tuesday and I was back in the gym on a Thursday.
mm,
And right away, the first thing in my head and that I was telling my teammates was like, we have to always diversify our attacks, whether we're even because I'm very punch heavy. I like punching people in the face, man. It's the most fun thing. But I can't get too reliant on that. I still have to be kicking you in the legs and kicking you in the bodies and threatening with my knees because even if I'm ultimately setting up my hands, I have to have my opponent worrying about all the other attacks. And that was something that I kind of lacked in that fight. And that's probably the main takeaway, I would say.
mm.
Diversified attacks and just can't be too flat footed at times. I got to always be moving and picking my angles and setting stuff up.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And then you go into the next bout. Um, you get the championship win. Did that kind of go how you expected it to?
Yeah, it was cool going into, I mean, that was my first international competition. Like I wrestled my whole life too, which is also what made that loss a little easier because I would say I was an above average wrestler, but I wasn't the best. I never had an undefeated season. But in wrestling, if you lose on a Tuesday, you got another match on a Thursday. Or at a tournament, you lose in the semis, you got to wrestle back for third. So you kind of have to be able to just learn and get over that loss really quick.
Right.
So that helped me regain my mental composure from that New Zealand fight. And like I was saying, I've never competed internationally, so I was kind of just comparing. All right, I'm fighting New Zealand. Who do I know from New Zealand? Dan Hooker. Dan
Mm,
Hooker is a savage. So I know that this fight is just going to be a scrap and this dude's not going to have quit. And then when I fought Brazil in my second fight, you look at someone like Pereira or Charles Oliveira, and it's just like those guys are dogs, man. They will never stop coming forward. Everything is
dog.
heavy. Everything is to kill you. It's not just like I'm throwing stuff to set it up. Like everything is to kill you.
Mm,
So I was mentally prepared for a war, and man, that crazy Brazilian did not disappoint at all. That was honestly, that fight, even though I won, was tougher physically than the New Zealand fight. It
mm,
was just the New Zealand fight. I feel like once things, because that was the first time things didn't go my way, so I kind of started getting in my head a little bit, and
mm,
then I started like trying to play catch up. And then I knew going into Brazil, it was like, hey man, this is your last fight here. You know this is going to be tough, but you just got to leave it all out there. If I hear my brother call a combo, I got to throw it right away. If I see something myself, I got to throw it right away. No steps backwards. If I feel my back touch the ropes, grab, turn, knee, pop, 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 start teeing off on them.
yep.
And that's exactly what it was. That was a scrap, man. That was fun.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And then I've often heard you refer to, you have your brother. He's also a pro fighter. You referred to him as a cheat code. What do you mean by that?
He has so much experience. He has close to between amateur and professional. I think he's at 47 fights right now, maybe 48 fights. And he's been training for over a decade. He's been all up and down the East Coast, been around other pro fighters or incredibly high amateur fighters. And he's seen it all. And I've never met somebody who is so obsessed with fighting
Mm,
in my life. And not even just like the aspect of doing it, but it's any second that he gets to watch a fight or watch somebody train or watch somebody hit mitts or a coach telling you how to hit mitts because the fighter should be throwing this combo when your opponent moves this way or coaching, fighting, anything that has to do with that. He's just so obsessed with it. And the way that his brain can process fighting,
mm,
like I said, it's a cheat code. And the fact that not only is he my head coach, but that's my brother. So it's just more of it's a very personal relationship.
mm,
And I know I have the utmost trust in him. If he says jump, I'm saying, all right, how high? So anything that he says, why would I not do it? Because I know he wouldn't tell me to do something that isn't the best possible thing to do, whether in that moment or in that training session or in that whole training camp.
mm. Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's an amazing asset to have right by your side there. Um, but like we said, you win the world title. Beautiful belt. Was it hard traveling with the belt on your way back? TSA give you any issues? And what was it like just returning to Lancaster with that title and coming back to your home gym, Gracie 717?
It was
What's going on, everybody? I hope you're enjoying the interview so far. We only covered a little bit of everything Jake and I talked about here. To watch the full length interview, head over to Apples and Grapes Media on YouTube to finish up the interview. We cover UFC 304 predictions, Jake's documentary, Seppuku, and his newest collection. So, for the full interview, again, head over to Apples and Grapes Media on YouTube. Peace.